But you're telling me that some bakery wasn't like, oh yeah, you get a card with everything. You get 13 cards, you get something. Boom. I don't know. Beanie Babies.
Okay.
It's let's work on this.
Right.
So they really love Beanie Babies and nobody takes them seriously. So they go around killing everyone. No, this doesn't sound good.
I think this is the bad guy of a campaign.
He's lovable though, because he also is surrounded by stuffed animals.
Welcome to Monsters and Multiclass, your weekly Dungeons and Dragons fix between your sessions. I'm Kevin Odie,
I'm Jared Bordigal.
And I'm Will Meldon.
and we'll be hanging out with you for the next hour to talk about anything and everything D&D related. This week we'll be looking at the Paladin Rogue Multiclass, and then the Neogi from Volo's Guide to Monsters. So pull up a chair and stick around. Thank you for getting into that intro, Will.
You got it, buddy.
I was actually had my plan on this time to call you out on how you always sound so sad in your intro. And then you didn't fucking sound sad, so I guess I can't complain.
Maybe he's just a sad dude.
Yeah, I'm a pretty sad dude. I like to start everything on the down. And
You know
then
how I
yell
like
later.
to start everything? With first thoughts on our multiclass.
So what is our multiclass?
Paladin Rogue. He said it
Paladin
in the
Rogue.
intro.
Thank
Were you
you.
just like saving all of your energy and focusing on having a good intro that you forgot what the actual podcast was about today?
Yeah, that's basically it. So what do you got? What do you like? What do you hate about it?
I like the fact that it sounds interesting, and that's about where that stops. It sounds interesting. I'm already like
All right.
intrigued at what this could be, but I don't have any other initial thoughts.
My initial thoughts. As these two stared longingly into each other's eyes, that was uncomfortable.
Longingly.
Yes. I struggle to see, from a character concept, an RP-wise, I struggle to see how this is going to work without ignoring aspects of the rogue. Like the
Right.
as-written kind of why a rogue is a rogue and where they get their skills from seems to directly go against any sort of paladin oath.
Right. Except for one.
Which one?
The Fallen Paladin, whatever that one's called.
No, I would actually
The
go
vengeance.
as far as saying that is the same.
Really?
Because even as a fallen paladin, you once exhibited discipline and vigor and zeal that the rogue almost exclusively lacks.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's
even
fair.
the fallen paladins still have an oath of some kind.
Oath of Vengeance, just that we're saying the right word.
Wait,
What?
that's
No,
they're
it's
not even remotely the same.
What are you talking
We're
about?
talking about the Oathbreaker.
Yeah,
Oathbreaker.
it's in
right.
the DMG
No.
Dungeon Master's Guide.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
Right, you're right.
yeah, which we never really refer. It's really not a PC character.
It's not supposed to be, but
It's more like an NPC villain setup. type
Okay.
the edgy guy at your table is always going to be like, come on, let me be an Oathbreaker. Fine, you can be lawful evil. This won't end poorly. It always does.
But, yeah, so the paladin's whole thing is they get their power from such a strong devotion to an oath.
Right.
And then all the subclasses are the different oaths you could take. And obviously, if you want, I guess you could reflavor it a bit and whatnot, but there's still this really strong oath. And even if you get to the more evil ones, like the Oath of Conquest in Xanathar's, where, I mean, you're really not a nice guy anymore. You're not this lawful good paladin. You're still righteous. You're still following this oath to the T, and that's the source of your powers. And then the rogue's whole thing is wavering on any sort of subject, kind of going in whatever direction they need to survive and get what they need. And they'll, I guess, I mean, you don't have to play a rogue that like lies and steals, but it's just the concept of that rogue. Just, it really, really struggled to mesh it with the paladin. So it's almost like you need to strip the rogue from being what it is
Right.
and just saying they just have some martial abilities that, are sneaky or whatever.
What if it was more of like a Robin Hood type?
Even then, we're talking about the two classes that embody the opposite ends of the chaotic lawful spectrum.
Yes.
We've got ultra lawful and ultra chaotic. Those are the backbones of the flavors of both these characters. So trying to make it mesh is just a little bit schizophrenic,
Ooh.
I love
Schizophrenic character.
I love chaotic lawful characters. It's like you can't do that. It's like, yeah, you can though. It's just weird and wrong.
Yeah, that's like killing peasants because they didn't pay their taxes, but also killing the king because he charged them taxes.
Yeah, chaotic lawful.
I mean, I had that paladin character, Edwig, who was a paladin to Irthnul, the god of, it was like slaughter and envy or something like that. Really bad stuff.
The god of really bad stuff.
And it was a chaotic god,
Okay.
if I remember correctly. And so I kind of made it work by saying it was a lawful devotion to the idea of sowing chaos wherever you can.
I think that's fair. It
it's-
seems like a workaround, but it also is like, I mean, that's fair enough. I mean, as long as you have something you stick to, it's still kind of lawful in my opinion. This is where alignment falls by the wayside, I guess, is really what we're coming to.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so really tough RP wise.
I don't think it's tough. I think it's just
Ignoring something.
it's
You have to
wrong.
bend
Right.
something.
You're gonna
Yeah.
say, "Oh, what's the flavor of your character?" Your best answer here is it's flavorless. I did this so I can smite while I sneak attack.
That was actually the first thing in my notes.
Yeah. I mean, of
Smite while
course.
sneak attack.
Of
That's just
course.
insane.
It's gonna be the last thing in your notes
Yeah.
too, because it's like the only core of this class.
Hold on. There's a little, you can increase it by taking the assassin subclass where you could guarantee crits. And so then you could guarantee a crit on your sneak attack smite,
Oh, Jesus
That's just-
Christ.
which is just insane.
So okay,
I-
what
I-
what I'm initially getting at, or what I'm getting from this is a min maxer's wet dream. But if you're looking for flavor, it just seems okay. Maybe not wet dream, but just being like, oh yeah, I can do tons of damage
There you
in
go,
one
yeah.
hit, and that's awesome because that's what people like doing. But actually, flavor wise, we've got nothing. Overall mechanics, it's not going to be as good as going single into any other class, really. So, what do we got?
I think this is the kind of character that the people who are attracted to this, I generally would prefer not playing with. It's like, oh, I'm going to be a rogue. I'm going to make the campaign worse for everybody. Oh, I'm going to be a paladin. I'm going to make the campaign worse for everybody. Different ends of being a terrible player now combined into one. Imagine a guy who steals things constantly just to make the party have a headache, but also imposes his lawful beliefs on everyone they meet. Literally ruining every encounter.
I'm sure that is the worst case scenario way to play this.
Yeah.
You don't have to do that.
I know, but it'd be hilarious. And also ruining boss fights with critical sneak attack smites.
Yeah. I didn't run the numbers, but just kind of like my gut feeling on it, it's probably the single highest damage martial attack you could do. A critical sneak attack smite.
Right.
Just from one attack.
Yeah, I mean, I know this kind of adds even more to it, almost too much to it, but you can also use your bonus action still to cast like a burning smite or something like that to layer that as well. So you can have your 2 spell slots being used, one for your regular smite, one for your spell smite. I don't know which one you'll use, and then get sneak attack, and that's just...
Yeah, and if they're surprised and you're an assassin, it's a guaranteed critical. It's really actually probably the best way to play the assassin subclass because I love the flavor of it, and it's a nice feature where one of the first features you get if you're the assassin subclass of a rogue, where you get I think advantage on initiative, or you add something to it. Yeah, if you haven't taken a turn, you get advantage on the attack, and then if the creature is surprised, it's a guaranteed critical hit.
Correct.
The idea being you're going to be an assassin. You pop out of the shadows, surprise them, and you stab them with a dagger in the throat or whatever, and they die because you're an assassin. But the reality is, it's going to be a heavy hit because of like a critical sneak attack.
Right.
But it's not going to flat out kill or almost kill most monsters unless you're that level like 1 or 2. So add a smite into this.
Right.
Throw a 3rd level smite onto that, which then gets doubled. I mean, it's like you could actually start getting up there.
3rd level smite is 4d8. So that would be 8d8 on a crit. And then it just at base level 3 for a rogue, that'll be 4d6
Yeah, and
with
and then we'll
crit.
say a rapier, so 2d8. So that's 10d8 plus 46 plus, dex.
Whatever your stuff is.
Yeah.
Okay, that's like a ridiculous amount.
Yes. You can actually get into if you're lucky on your rolls and the target is weak enough, the one-hit kill of D&D, which never happens. People always want to, you see it talked about a lot. It almost feels like it's lacking in that sense of why can't I just sneak up and slit their throat or something like that. It just doesn't work that way. Because then you could also argue it could happen to you, which is no fun for anybody. This is a way to almost get there.
The only time that stuff happens is when it's just out of combat. Or if you sneak in, it's like, oh, they're sleeping goblins. What do? I slit their throats. Okay, that's fine. Just slit their throats. Roll a sneak check, and that's all you really need.
Yeah.
Being roll initiative, and also, can you get enough damage? No, that's not fun.
It depends what it is. To be honest, if you're level 5 and it's a bunch of goblins, I'd probably give that to you. Because you're probably going to one-shot them anyways.
Right.
Or one-turn them with your 2 attacks.
Yeah.
One-turn them. That doesn't sound as good.
1 round.
Yeah. But if it's supposed to be a tougher creature,
then
no, don't give that to them. You could say that they wake up right before you do it. They shift in their sleep. You're too nervous and your hand slips, and you would get it. Since they're asleep, you would get advantage on the attack. I don't think it would be a guaranteed crit.
No.
I know if they're paralyzed from hold person, it's a guaranteed crit.
Right,
Yeah.
it's a little different.
Old versions had something called coup de grace. I don't remember the specifics, but it handled that. But they clearly took it out in 5e. I don't know if to make it simpler, or I don't know if maybe it could get ridiculous because then creatures and enemies could do it back to you, which would be a really shitty way to just lose your character.
Just lock your doors.
Just lock the door on your tent, man. It makes you actually have to be on watch.
Yeah.
You get one shot by a bunch of goblins. That'd be a great way to TPK your entire group, though. You all go to sleep. You forgot to put a watch rotation in, and you all get killed by goblins. Ha! Rip up your character sheets. We're playing something else.
All right, so RP-wise, maybe we can come back around to it for a more solid grasp on how that character starts. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about mechanically a little bit more. So Assassin works. What type of Paladin subclass would be best or go well with it? Are there any that work better than others? Oath of the Ancients right out the gate is okay, that doesn't really make sense. You're nature warrior, and now I'm also a rogue. Okay, let's throw that out.
Yeah. Vengeance fits where you're, especially with Assassin.
Right.
Because that vengeance, if you are trying to get vengeance on the evildoers and the assassin aspect. I mean, that actually gels really well.
Yeah, I like that.
Also, it justifies RP. It's not just a mechanical synergy.
Ooh, Vow of Enmity?
Enmity.
Okay. As a bonus action, you utter a vow of enmity against a creature you can see within...
Enmity.
That's what I said. Enmity.
You said enmity.
Enmity.
Enmity. ENMITY.
Enmity.
I don't know why I'm giving you a hard time. I mispronounce things all the time.
Seriously. You gain advantage on attack rolls against the creature for 1 minute or until it drops to 0 hit points or falls unconscious. First off, that's a channel divinity. That's a bonus action, which is great. Second off, you're getting advantage. Advantage means sneak attack and...
Yes.
Boom.
Yeah.
Hey, that's great.
Yeah.
So those do actually go really well together against a big boss. I'd honestly be a little upset as the DM because you're just going to rip through that thing pretty quick with advantage on everyone. What after that? We got Relentless Adventure. By 7th level, your supernatural focus helps you close off a foe's retreat. When you hit a creature with an opportunity attack, you can move up to half your speed immediately after their attack. And as part of the same reaction, okay, you can move on opportunity attacks. It's kind of cool, but...
Yeah.
The rogue already has a lot that gives it.
Yeah.
Right. I wouldn't...
low wasted.
Yep.
But the Oath of Vengeance, as far as Player's Handbook is concerned, is probably the only thing that has any flavor that would make sense to go with a rogue. The rest of them, it quite literally reads as not rogue.
Yeah.
What's the main one? Oath of Devotion.
Yeah. They believe in honesty and stuff like it's just...
Yeah, it would have
ridiculous.
to be stripping the rogue, the fluff of a rogue, and just saying you have this martial ability just because you do.
15th level is pretty cool as well. Soul of Vengeance. You can just, when they're under the effects of your channel divinity, Vow of Enmity, you can use your reaction to make an additional attack. That's cool. I mean, again, and especially since you're going to have advantage on that attack, all good. I don't see any reasons why that doesn't mesh with Rogue.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a +1 to this. If you go 15 levels in Oath of Vengeance and then 5 in Rogue, maybe not even 5, 16 in Paladin, 4 in Rogue, that'd probably work out
for all
right.
those level 20 campaigns everyone plays.
Yep. I like
on the Rogue side, Swashbuckler, I think fits because you're already going to have. So the Swashbuckler gets a small boost from Charisma. They could add it to their initiative roll.
Right.
And is there another skill that does it? I read this last night. I don't remember.
That Rogues get to
Well,
their
in
initiative?
Swashbuckler, that Charisma comes into something else.
Yeah, it's a little bit later. I believe at 9th level, you make a Persuasion check, contested by a creature's Insight check. Creature must be able to hear you. It has disadvantage on attack rolls against targets other than you. So it basically is like a compelled duel.
Panache.
Almost.
Yeah.
So that's not bad.
So with the Swashbuckler, one thing I always struggled with it is to really make the most of it, you need to be a rogue with Charisma. But the benefits you get from the Swashbuckler having Charisma are kind of minor. Boost to initiative is always good, but build
if you're
an
the
entire
assassin.
Yeah.
Whoops.
If you go a different subclass, it's great.
To build an entire stat array around it, a little iffy, and then the panache, and then I guess you have the character if you want to be the persuasive silver-tongued guy. But now when you're multi-class with a paladin, you have all those other benefits that the paladin gets from charisma, like there's auras to saves, better stuff with spellcast, things like that. So it makes it more worth it to pick to boost charisma.
Definitely. Yeah, I mean, is there any way that the Rakish Audacity, where you don't need advantage on the attack roll to use your sneak attack against a creature if you are within 5 feet of it and no other creatures are within 5 feet of you? That one is pretty good. It's a good way to get sneak attack that just adds an additional way. It's nothing too special, but it's going to happen a lot more often as a paladin where you're just alone fighting something compared to, I don't know, any other subclass of rogue where they're usually be ranged. So, I mean, that's good. It's not bad. It adds something to it.
Right.
Better chance of getting your sneak attack.
I feel like your party would probably develop an understanding that this psychopath that they've hired is going to sprint headlong into the battle, and everyone's going to support him from the rear while he tries and like blow up one hit everything he fights.
Yeah,
Everyone's
basically.
going to stay back to avoid the viscera getting on them. Oh, you did 120 damage. You're level 9. What the hell?
Yeah, I mean, I can't see a lot of this from what I'm seeing is like, you know, go ahead and level up your paladin and then take like a couple in rogue, which I can kind of work with that. Again, if we go towards the assassin area of it, or for swashbuckler, I know you said it's not pirates, but
It's pirates, man.
it's pirates. So focus your training on the art of the blade, relying on speed, elegance, and charm in equal parts. Okay, so just based off that kind of goes with paladin pretty well. I mean, a lot of paladins are, we'll just say, a smooth talker on top of it. So you've got a holy smooth talker. Okay.
It's quick on his feet.
It was like trained in the way of the blade. Cool.
Yeah.
I could see taking 3 levels in that. That's perfectly reasonable.
It's a rakish audacity.
Right. Yeah, after that, I mean, you've got to get to 9th for this subclass. I don't know if there's anything else in Rogue up to that point that's really worth
evasion.
Okay.
But the core of it is sneak attack.
Uncanny dodge.
Sneak attack
and sneak attack
and
goes up.
paladin smites both scale fairly linearly throughout the entire game.
Right.
So it's one of those. This is one of those combinations where you can very much justify a half and half.
Yeah.
From a mechanic standpoint,
Yes.
Definitely agree there.
And even from an RP standpoint, because, you know, as you're going along, it's not like you have to go out of your way to become a better paladin or a better rogue, especially if you start as a paladin. Your rogue skill is kind of whatever. You know, it's never going to make much sense,
Right.
but it's not, I don't know. It's not something that offends me on a personal level.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Yeah, I mean, evasion is just really good. That's 7th level. Uncanny dodge, 5th level.
Yeah.
When an attacker that you can see hits you with an attack, you can use your reaction to have the attack's damage against you. Perfect.
Right.
That's good.
Yeah.
Always going to be good, especially if you are doing that like front line offense.
Exactly. Yeah. Just make it paladin even more panky.
Your dexterity's probably not going to be your focus. It's going to be, unless you go Dex Paladin, which I won't throw out. I always get yelled at.
Well,
you do need that for sneak attack, right?
So, yeah, that's a whole topic of conversation. Do you want to go focused on strength or dex?
Right.
So you have to have 13 of both, plus 13 charisma. And then...
I'm sorry, I'm remembering that, again, sneak attack needs to be a finesse weapon. I almost forgot about that.
Yeah.
So
but you don't have to use dex.
Right.
So it could be, have the finesse property, you still attack with strength, you could get sneak attack.
Yep.
So I've went back and forth with myself for a while on this about should this combination be dex based or strength based? Where do you what do you stop at 13 or 14, whatever?
Right.
And I still don't have an answer. So if you want heavy armor, you have to go Paladin first. If you multiclass into Paladin, you only get proficiency up to medium armor.
Okay.
And then looking at the heavy armors, the lowest one has a 13 strength requirement. And it's really not much better than like a medium armor with a little bit of dex. So you need 15 strength to be able to get the good heavy armors, like plate armor or whatever. The one right below it is that's 17 AC.
Yeah.
So right there's an argument for going strength.
Okay.
But then you're in that issue of do you want a shield and like a rapier? Or we kind of talked about it with like Barbarian Rogue, where you have the big two-handed weapon and then daggers all over your body to work on. And surprise dagger for a sneak attack bonus. But I mean, that was kind of a workaround for Barbarian, because Barbarians clearly really needed to be strength because of rage and reckless attack and all that.
Right.
Paladins don't. There's really nothing that says this has to be strength-based. The biggest reason for them being strength-based is to get heavy armor than with like great weapon, like a two-handed sword or something. But
you're also losing out on being able to sneak very well. You automatically are getting disadvantage with the heavy armor.
Mm-hmm.
Medium armor, you're still kind of limited. I think some of the better medium armors do give you disadvantage.
Yeah, it depends.
But you can at least choose that.
Right.
But for medium armors, it's Dex +2 max?
Yeah.
Okay, so, man, AC is going to be the tough part here, isn't it?
Yeah, but luckily with the rogue, you get the other more survivability things of evasion and uncanny dodge. Yeah. And then also then you're a paladin, even just 2 levels in the rogue, you become a paladin with cunning action, where you can disengage as a bonus action.
Yeah,
I think the survivability is made up.
Yeah, no, that's fair. You can also always take the fighting style for paladin. They get a fighting style at level 2, one of which is the defense while you're wearing armor +1 to AC. Mm-hmm. So you're kind of making up for it a little bit there. It's not helping in the way that it normally did, and it honestly would kind of suck to not go with dueling on that, because that gives you the +2 bonus to damage rolls with your one-handed weapon.
Right.
I would honestly rather that, just because we're talking about you're a glass cannon. I think that's really what this is coming down to.
I wouldn't say glass cannon.
You're right, because D&D doesn't have glass cannons.
You're still decently hardy with what's the paladin's hit die? D10?
Correct.
And then the rogue is D8?
Also correct.
So I mean, that's hardly glass. And then you're going to be in medium armor. I mean, you're not the main tank. Though D&D doesn't even really have main tanks. No. You'll be fine. Your survivability is good enough.
Highest AC, if you can have a shield, is 19. Without a shield, is going to be 17.
Okay.
So that's going to be breastplate, which is 14. Dex modifier, max of 2. 16 plus defense, if you go with that, would be 17. Otherwise, you're at 16 and 18 with a shield.
Right. That's good.
Yeah, that's not bad. I'm
not bad.
Actually not going to argue that at all.
Like, any caster doesn't get that high.
No.
Usually rogues by themselves don't get that high because they only have light armor.
Okay, so yeah, you do want to, especially if you're going for the assassin thing, you're going to want to not have disadvantage on stealth.
Right. It's important.
I mean, unless you wanted to create a character where you're constantly flipping armor on and off. That'd be really obnoxious. All right, what are you wearing? I'm naked because I'm trying to assassinate this guy. Like, all right, you assassinate him. All right, I put my armor back on.
That's my character, the naked assassin.
The naked assassin. No one will ever suspect him of being able to smite you.
Yeah.
It's true. They'd be like, oh man, all he has is a rapier. This guy's crazy. And then just like explosion.
So it makes me want to lean towards a dex-based character.
Yeah.
With just the minimum of 13 strength and medium armor. And then like a rapier or something along those lines with a shield, or even dual wielding.
Okay.
Because then you get that bonus action attack to try and, if you miss. The whole big thing with rogues is you want every chance you can to hit to trigger your sneak attack. And rogues by default only get one attack.
Right.
So if you dual wield, there's a second attack. And then you're the paladin. So if you get up to 5, you get extra attacks. So there's 3 chances to be able to land a sneak attack.
Right. So
Which are pretty good.
this sounds like to me like you're almost definitely have to start as a paladin. The idea of you starting as a rogue and then 5 levels in switching over to paladin doesn't make any sense to me.
From an RP perspective?
From an RP perspective entirely.
I would disagree. You have that, you bring it up all the time. Your favorite thing, a redemption arc.
Ugh,
I hate redemption arcs.
same.
Corruption arc.
Sure, you can go either way.
That's true. No,
You
that's
could be
true.
a paladin who has a corruption arc into being a rogue, or a rogue who has a redemption arc into being a paladin.
Okay. Yeah, I mean that's fair enough. But paladins just seem so much I guess just kind of starting to make your bed every morning and promise to stop stealing from people isn't enough to be a paladin. It's
Right.
like a huge, devotion.
Exactly, yeah.
It's an oath
Yeah,
you
yeah.
take.
You would need I think to do, like, the best way to handle it, there would need to be a moment within the game
Right.
that triggers this in that character.
And that's always a little bit unfair when you go into the game. It's like, all right, DM, I have this really dumb thing I want to do, so you have to write it in. It's like, come on, guy.
I disagree
Like,
with that actually.
yeah.
I don't know.
I think that's kind of the fun of being DM is like when somebody comes to you with those dumb ideas, you can be like, all right, let's make this actually work without it seeming extremely just thrown in there.
Yeah, I can go either way. But yeah, you are kind of putting the impetus on them to feed you this, hey, I need to get redeemed.
Right. I mean, it's really all they're asking for is like, hey, give me a moral quandary, which should be happening in D&D a lot. Not should, but it happens a lot with things that
At
we
least how
do.
we play, yeah.
Yeah, which I mean, like, do you want to save this person or do you want to murder them? That's all that matters. It's harder to save them, but murdering them is bad. Don't murder people. Point is, that's not the big
I'd like
of a
to
deal.
think we have more interesting ideas than that.
No,
do,
it's
but-
usually that.
It's usually just that. Save them and it's tough, or murder them and you're just fine. Move on. Yeah, nope, that's it.
Why are those the options?
I don't know,
Help,
man.
save me. Are we going to save him or are we going to kill him? Why is the second one even on the table?
Because I'm bad. I'm a rogue.
Oh, I used to be a paladin. I've been feeling kind of roguish. I feel like I'm about to go rogue. That would be really that'd be so cringy. I'm going rogue. We should start a Danny Phantom podcast.
I was worried you were going to bring up Danny Phantom.
Who is that?
Danny Phantom? It
Is
was a cartoon.
Nickelodeon cartoon.
Okay.
One of the better ones. But
It was targeting like younger teens.
Yep.
So it was super embarrassing.
disagree.
Oh.
Super good as somebody who was a young teen when that came out. So
Say, if you were a young teen when it came out, it was after my time.
No, that's the thing. Is
Yeah.
I watched shows well into my 20s
I
that
know,
were
yeah.
targeted for
I
small
remember
children.
like senior year of high school hanging out with you and you were like talking about Drake and Josh and shit.
Drake and Josh was great.
that's a great show.
Lazy Town was the real thing that I should not have been watching.
Yo, did you guys catch that new episode of Lazy Town? No, man. We're graduating high school.
It was tough because it was always on when kids were like at home because they weren't even at school yet. That's the target audience.
Oh, so you had to like be late to school so you could watch Lazy Town?
Yeah.
Are you sure you weren't just special?
You know what?
The more you think about it?
I am a pretty special guy.
All right. Divine Smite. I love Smite.
Smite's great.
It's my favorite
It
part
just
of being a paladin.
happens.
It just happens.
It's like when you hate, you could choose to add it on. That's great. There's no. It's just comforting to know it's there. There's no risk with it. There's no chance of failure.
Yeah, Smite happens.
Yeah. So to circle back on the stat array thing, one other point I wanted to bring up. So
Yeah.
if you go that dex route, you then have this 13 strength that you have to go up to,
Okay.
which is essentially wasted.
Yeah.
You get almost nothing for it.
Better saving throws.
Yeah,
On
sure.
something that happens every once in a while.
Better grapple, and this is not a grapple character. So it's
Yeah. Basically nothing.
which kind of sucks. So if you flip it, if you go strength based and go put yourself in heavy armor and just accept the fact you're not going to sneak and all that, you still have this high dexterity, which is always useful no matter what. No matter who you are, you could benefit from dexterity above 10.
Right.
Because it's the most common saving throw, and a lot of, just saving throws in general, from spells, traps, falling off ledges, anything like that. It's pretty much universally beneficial in some way.
Right.
Also increases your initiative, and if for whatever reason you're not in armor, increases your armor. So in that sense, it almost makes me want to go the strength based, just so
You're not wasting a skill.
yeah, that just bugs the hell out of me to have the stat array. And here's 13 strength, which is 100% wasted and unused in any way, shape, or form.
Carry capacity.
Ooh. That only came up when we made a point to bring it up in this most recent campaign, and I wrote it out for you guys. 8 sessions in?
A little bit more than that, but that's besides the point.
Or I guess 8 sessions is a lot. I say that like it's nothing. That's
Yeah.
I mean, that's
2 months.
Yeah.
So it has to be finesse. That means you can use a whip.
Oh, Whips Nettington's finally viable.
Every single session we get closer to Whips Nettington.
Yep.
I will actually say that this is a character that probably could justify Whips Nettington because it's got this like horrible potential for single round damage that ignores the fact
It doesn't matter if it's a
the whip.
D4. Yeah. Yeah, everything else is coming from the smite. It's coming from the sneak attack. It doesn't really matter that the weapon you're dealing damage with is only doing 2d4 instead of 2d8.
Right.
That's got a lot of potential. And nobody would take him seriously first until they saw just how much damage he could do.
Until he was level 15.
I like the image of smiting off a whip crack.
Oh, yeah, that's awesome, actually.
That's second only to the Eagle Smite, which was a great idea that we had.
That was the Drew and Paladin.
Episode 5.
Episode 5.
Yeah, go check it out.
So yeah, Whips Nettington, definitely potential there.
So what's his devotion to?
Whips and Nets.
Can we honestly, I would totally allow a god of whips and nets. Like who are you devoted to? Oh, yes, it's Whippy Nets.
Whippy Nets.
And
so
your name? Whips Nettington.
What's your oath? Vengeance, because no one has ever taken me seriously. So yeah, you've got your meme joke god who is pissed off that no one's ever seen the benefit of Whips and Nets.
And he gives you this ridiculous power because he's like, you need to go spread the good word of whips and nets.
That sounds more like a cleric.
Okay, but we need it for the mechanics.
I mean, what's the difference between a paladin and a cleric, RP speaking?
So the cleric is a devout follower of a god and is gifted divine power from that god. A paladin is a devout follower of a
Oath is really...
Thank you,
yeah.
oath. I was drawing a blank on that name for some reason. Of an oath, and draws the power from the devotion to that oath. Oftentimes, there's a lot of overlap because they make a oath related to a god, but it doesn't have to be. It could be to a concept or whatever. It's just kind of how magic works in D&D world. I guess
Right.
where if you have such a strong devotion to a core concept of ideals and beliefs, you could gain essentially magical powers from it.
I wonder if I can gain magical powers from loving D&D so much.
This isn't the D&D world.
Boy can dream.
Escapism. But yeah, so yeah, no, the vengeance works perfectly. He doesn't even need Whippy Nets does not actually need to exist. The concept of him not being taken seriously as a net and whip based fighter is enough to drive him to magical power.
Yeah, that honestly makes a lot of sense to me. I see nothing wrong with it.
Actually, just in general, ignoring the Whips Nettington and Whips and Nets, I kind of do like the idea of a paladin. Their ideal concept that they've made an oath to is based around needing to prove they're the best or not being taken seriously. Or
I could see Oath of Conquest working really well there.
Yeah.
Just because I just imagined a really angry dude, but what he's angry about is what makes it hilarious.
Right.
It literally says in the core concepts, essentially that really edgy yearbook quote, it's not enough that I win. They have to lose.
Right.
That's the core of their ideology is just ruining people.
So what about a paladin of Beanie Babies?
Beanie Baby?
Yeah,
Paladin?
just like loves Beanie Babies.
I don't think there's Beanie Babies in the D&D world.
There's the equivalent somewhere. You tell me there's always been collectibles. It's at least all of the old style video games I play tell me that there's collectibles. But you're telling me that some bakery wasn't like, oh yeah, you get a card with everything. You get 13 cards, you get something. Boom. I don't know. Beanie Babies.
Okay.
It's let's work on this.
All right.
So they really love Beanie Babies and nobody takes them seriously. So they go around killing everyone. No, this doesn't sound good.
I think this is the bad guy of a campaign.
He's lovable though, because he also is surrounded by stuffed animals.
Lovable evil.
There we go. Lovable evil, the new form of lawful. Or I guess the new alignment.
We're going off the scale.
What would lovable neutral be?
Lovable. I don't know.
What do you mean? It's exactly what it sounds like. They're just lovable, but like you don't really love anything specific about them. It's just they're pretty cool. I like them. I love them.
Something that's
Okay.
Love them a
amorphous.
lot.
Like a blob monster?
So oozes will be lovable neutral.
Like a yeah.
Do you consider
A
oozes
nice
lovable?
ooze.
I thought we talked about
We've
this
got one
last
friend.
episode.
We've got a friend now. We're friends with oozes.
Yeah. Jiggly Cube. I forgot his real
Jigglycube.
name. Galabrob or something like that.
What?
I'm not going to go into that one.
No, that's just terrible.
It's gonna be fun.
It's gonna be hilarious. So yeah, we've got Whips Nettington. We've got Beanie Baby Vengeance guy.
Beanie Baby Vengeance.
So if we really take the idea of a paladin as someone who is just very devoted to a particular oath and set of ideals and beliefs,
Right.
I mean, how far can you really take that? So you could actually, I mean, how much do we really want to break this concept? I'm wondering if there's some descriptive text where we have missed that guards against this ridiculousness. And then going back to the rogue thing, so you could have a rogue, let's say it's a mastermind rogue, and they are the leader of a thieves guild, and they are so incredibly devoted to the ideals of this thieves guild. Like, we'll say it's a Robin Hood type. And they have their core values they follow and tenets they follow, and the leader embodies it to a T and so strongly believes in this way of life that they manifest holy powers as a paladin. Can that happen?
I mean, from what I'm reading, even just their cause of righteousness on page 82 of the PHB, it focuses on the justice and righteousness side, but it even kind of says like it's what you'd expect, but it doesn't have to be justice and righteousness. It can kind of just be your version of justice.
Mm-hmm.
Justice doesn't always mean the scales tipping towards good. So
Right.
it doesn't also have to tip towards evil. Justice could be your love of Beanie Babies.
I don't know how to say justice to that, but with my not dumb idea of the mastermind rogue, who the Robin Hood type, which I think you mentioned earlier, one of you mentioned earlier, their idea of justice is leveling out that imbalance.
Right. No, that's totally fair. And
The
I
oath
guess
of
not
communism.
Pretty much, yes.
dumb. Yeah.
And then I know Xanathars went into, let's see here, Paladin.
Yeah, it goes pretty far in depth on all these.
Yeah, living embodiment of an oath, a promise or a vow made manifest in a person of a holy warrior who has the skill and determination to see the cause through to the end.
Yeah.
Some devote themselves expressively protecting the innocent and spreading justice in the world, while others resolve to attain that goal by conquering those who stand defiant and bringing them under the rule of law. So that doesn't really quite fit, though. Let's see. I do like they have a paragraph in here to just say, hey, don't be lawful stupid. Like, you're a reasonable, real person. Calm the fuck down.
Right.
Where, although no paladin in the world could be described as typical, a number of them are narrow-minded do-gooders who refuse to tolerate even the smallest deviation from their own outlook. Paladins who take up the adventuring life, however, really remain so rigid in their attitudes, if only to keep from alienating their companions.
I honestly think they've started putting that stuff in these books just to
Yeah.
like allow DMs to have that power to be like, no, look at the book. You're just being a dick.
Right.
Our party's totally allowed to kick you out. So yeah, it sounds like there's not too many limitations, honestly, as long as you're just devoted to a specific thing and that's your deal.
Where I think the biggest thing is that you need to bring it back to justice.
Yes.
In some way.
Yes, I agree.
Every oath that's written is definitely linked to that.
Mm-hmm.
And it even says, so your Beanie Baby idea, I don't see how you could realistically link that back to justice.
Come back next week as we break down the rogue paladin multiclass who loves Beanie Babies.
That's a full episode right there. No time for even a monster after that guy.
So no, okay, you're right. That probably won't work. But my point is, as long as you have a core rule of what your justice is, I think you can kind of fit it into any of these oaths.
The vengeance really is always going to be the
It's a catch-all.
because
Yeah.
you're like, oh, you can get vengeance for literally anything, including Beanie Babies.
Yeah, I say if the guy is mentally ill and he has such a strong obsession of Beanie Babies, where in his mind it is such a great injustice he does not have these Beanie Babies and others have the Beanie Babies, or maybe it's bent positively and he feels these Beanie Babies need to be spread amongst the world, not just the elite few who could afford the special bread from the bakery.
I just like to imagine he like comes across some goblins and he's like, "You there? Do you like Beanie Babies? What are Beanie Babies? Die!" That's it. That's the combat.
Yeah, I'd totally party up with that guy.
Yeah, it's like the entire rest of the party is just like, what the fuck is this dude's problem? It's like, I don't know, but he just killed those goblins in 3 turns by himself, so let's just ignore it.
And then I guess it brings up the metaphysical questions of the D&D universe, which should never, ever be dived into because they fall apart. But is there some divine entity that's like looking at their oaths and like, okay, yes, that's justified. Here's your powers.
Yeah, here you go.
No, that's not. Or is it built into the fabric of reality of this inherent sense of what justice is and they could pull from... It gets kind of weird.
So are you asking if there's like bean counters for moral energy?
Yes.
Maybe. I don't know. That'd be a funny thing to walk into as an adventuring party, though.
Just
a bunch of normal...
Gods. They don't have any powers.
Normal, but they do have the power to dole out morality.
Yeah.
It's like real life bureaucratic power.
Yeah, so like these gods have entrusted these bean counters with their powers. They're like, here, you deal with dishing this out. I trust you. And they just like look and they're like, all right, that dude, his family was murdered by bandits, really wants to kill all bandits. Reasonable. There you go. Here's your powers. This guy loves Beanie Babies.
Wait, nobody loves them a lot.
He loves them a lot. Well, I didn't get that extra day of vacation. Here you go.
And remember, even though in our minds they're not a big deal, we are not these individuals. We cannot put our own perspectives on everybody. We have to think what the community at large wants. Maybe the community at large wants Beanie Babies.
Right. The community at large, why would they have any influence on the general moral dolings? Just like, don't give anyone this power.
Well,
I feel like it's a net loss overall.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
How do you say that?
I don't know. Because if you're dealing this stuff out, it's probably like to balance out all the evil stuff you put in the world.
Right.
Don't put the evil stuff in the world. Just come join us.
Oh, I don't think the bean counters are dishing out evil. They're dishing out good to people who deserve it.
And then the devils and fiends and demons have their own bean counters
Ooh,
to dish out the evil.
this sounds like we can make a campaign around it, actually.
Like a modern office bureaucracy that's working in conjunction, just like cancel itself out.
No, like a bean counter goes awry, and he's like starting to give it to people who totally don't deserve power.
Oh, or like Superman 2, they're taking like the rounded off morality and keeping it for themselves.
Nobody watched
Yeah,
Superman 2, man.
It was the exact same plot as Office Space 2. They stole that from Superman 2, where they take the fractions of the pennies and send it to their bank account.
Oh,
Only there's
Office
taking...
Space, comma, as well.
yeah.
I think
you
you
said
meant Office Space 2.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, you meant like TOO.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
No,
I don't
not
think
the
there's a
second
sequel.
Office
I
Space.
don't-
But yeah, so they take the fractions of morality because they have to round it off, and they take
Who's
all
they?
the bean counter.
The bean counters.
Bean
In this
counter who went
campaign.
awry. He's taking the fraction morality that they round off and sending it to his morality account, so he becomes like this ultra powerful godlike entity.
No, I don't like that. But
That was great. That's a great idea. That's why it was used in 2 movies. 2 incredibly popular movies.
I don't think Office Space is that popular, man.
It was huge. Man. People still
I
make
don't know if that
jokes
was
about
sarcasm.
It was
That
sarcasm.
was a switch joke because
Yep.
you thought you were going to say, I got it, Superman.
That movie was even bigger. It was just before our time. I'm just saying.
Wait, by Superman 2, do you mean like original Superman movies?
Yes.
Oh.
With the guy who's in a wheelchair now.
Yeah.
Well, he's not in a wheelchair anymore. He's in the
Christopher
ground.
Reeve.
He's dead. Yeah. So, okay. Yeah, I mean, that does sound like an interesting campaign, though. I like this bean counters idea. Morality bean counters.
Hell yeah.
And I like to think that there's like the evil ones and the good ones, like dishing out evil powers, dishing out good powers, just on the other side of the cubicle. Just like,
It's a job.
It's a job. We're just doing what we got to do.
Yeah.
I don't
Really
really.
department
care
are you
about
in,
it. Yeah,
you know?
they just both happen to rent the same office space, and it's
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. And they just
They got a good deal.
right.
The different-
Either they're best friends or they hate each other. Honestly, I think we're just making a buddy comedy.
I think in bureaucracy, it's just going to be a really just crushing neutrality. It's like I tolerate these people,
Yeah.
even though they're diametrically opposed to you on a fundamental level.
So, any other thoughts on Paladin Rogues?
No, I think you can have some fun with it.
Yeah,
we can.
I like
Give
it.
Some ideas and
My current vote is that this is RP wise one of the worst. One of the worst combinations. It doesn't work that well for me.
our ideas do not convince you.
No, they just there was no one that I was like, yeah, I can get behind that. But mechanically, it's a surprisingly powerful class.
Cool. All right. I think it's time to move on to Monster of the Week.
Ooh, all right.
This Monster of the Week, we are going to be looking at the Neogi in Volo's Guide to Monsters, page 179 and 180. The Neogi are a alien type race that have made their way across the material plane into probably whatever world you happen to be inhabit. Though they're not particularly powerful themselves, they are master slavers who seem to be able to dominate creatures' minds and bend them to their will. With a completely alien nature and view of morality and individuality, they're a really fascinating creature to try and dive into and understand, which they also just look cool. They're spider eels. I think worth talking about.
Yeah, no, I agree. The main issue that I see just right out the gate, super low challenge rating. So you don't have a lot of versatility in like making this a whole campaign. It is interesting at lower levels though, just because they have this enslave ability. I could see them just enslaving a town, enslaving a group of some sort, and uncovering that it's actually these weird eel spiders behind everything. It just kind of sucks because the only big boss fight you're going to have is against this Neogi Master, which is again challenge rating 4, and with that you're going to have to throw a bunch of other Neogis at this fight, and it's going to be more of fighting a horde of things over fighting one big thing.
So I completely agree with you, but disagree, but agree for completely different reasons. So I agree, disagree with you.
Ooh.
So I know I just presented these, but I love the flavor of these. The actual mechanics written down in their stat blocks, and there's 3 of them, a hatchling, a regular one, and a master. I'm really underwhelmed by. By flavor, it sounds like these creatures have the ability to just dominate any sentient creature's mind.
Correct.
Take complete control of them. They are a permanent slave to them. That's what their society is built around.
I see where you're going with this.
Yeah, taking in slaves and doing whatever needs to be done with them. So in that sense, when I was reading, so when I look at these, I'll see, all right, there's 3 of them, quickly glance at the challenge rating, highest it gets is 4, and it's like, oh, that's not too much. Then I start reading the flavor text and get really excited when it talks about them enslaving creatures. Because if that's the route you're going, they could do, you could fight literally anything. This can go up to 20 because they've enslaved an ancient red dragon or whatever.
Right.
And so, you're right, once you actually get to the point when you're fighting like the Neogi Master or whatever, you're just going to curb stomp it in the ground. But it's surrounded by really powerful, really intense creatures that it is fully enslaved. And then just these things' presence on the battlefield is terrifying, because what if they enslave you or one of the PC characters of the party? But then you actually go to read the stat blocks of these Neogi. The hatchling has no ability to enslave whatsoever. And then you have the Neogi and the Neogi Master, who have the identical enslave ability. They can do it once per short or long rest. It's a DC 14 wisdom save. If they fail, the creature is enslaved for 1 day. And if they move 1 mile away from the creature. Also, every time the creature takes damage, they get to re-roll the save to end it early. That's it. That is all they have in terms of enslaving creatures. It seems like it doesn't fit up with the flavor at all. I was so disappointed in reading these.
It almost seems like they wanted to make the enslavability not overwhelming.
Right.
They wanted it in combat, but the actual flavor of it is just completely against what it's saying on the stat block.
Exactly.
So I think the only way to really have a good portion of this in a campaign is just ignoring how the stat block operates and saying, no, they completely control this thing's mind and it can't break that.
Okay,
Right.
so given that you two are now agreeing, I have to come in and disagree.
Hey.
You're thinking at this a little bit too mechanically. This is a very collective society. We're not talking about like, you can add whatever quantity you need for your campaign.
Right.
But if you want to make them formidable, how about just have like 40 of them?
Yeah, no,
A DC 14, not so bad. When it happens 40 times, that's pretty friggin' bad.
But it lasts
A
one day.
And they keep doing that. They're a society they use this ability to keep the initial, the threatening characters in check constantly. There's no
Right.
escaping this because you've got an entire battalion of these guys with this ability, and then they break you other ways. I mean, it doesn't end. Your abilities as a society don't end with your stat block. They beat you, they'll tattoo you, they'll brand you, they'll
That's
tie you
true.
up, and eventually your will's gonna break.
Right.
Unless you're a player character.
That's totally fine, especially
Right.
looking at just thinking how terrible that is. You are getting enslaved by this thing, and your brain is whatever under control. And let's say it doesn't say anything that you like take a back seat and they're just controlling your body. You're still probably conscious of all this stuff happening. And once you finally break it, another one just does the exact same thing to you. And this just keeps happening over and over. You're right. Your will's going to break pretty quickly there, where it doesn't matter if they actually take over your brain. You're just like, if I don't do what they say, they're going to make me do it. So you
Right.
can do that for really any level monster, as we talked about. They just get these crazy amount of chances if we're talking about a huge society of these Neogis.
Yeah, when I see spider eel space monsters, I think like Starship Troopers level of quantity. I don't
Right.
think like, oh, there's 5 of them.
No,
just
I agree.
dumb.
I agree.
Yeah.
I was thinking hundreds, at least. Can go anyway. So that does kind of make things interesting, though, especially if you're not fully aware of what's happening and like who's controlling all these things. So you're like fighting through these big bad guys, super high challenge rating, and then you finally get through, and it's just like, what's behind all of this? And it's just this tiny, maybe not actually tiny in size, but this weak little monster that you're just like, oh my god, this is all it took. And one swing of your sword and it's dead.
Right. So even though they have such a low challenge rating, it seems like they fit better for a high level campaign.
Yeah.
So if you are the appropriate challenge rating for this, you run into the issues I was discussing. You can't throw 40 of them, man. 40 of these things at level 5.
No.
They're just going to get your party will get obliterated. There's nothing they can do.
Well, they'll get enslaved.
Sure, yeah. With no chance of escaping or really doing.
What? They'll be sold, and then they'll have a new adventure. Cleaning a mansion or something. Or fighting in a pit.
That is actually interesting. How do they like enslave people based on stat block again? If they're enslaving people and then selling them to traders, how are these people maintained?
They're not
that?
selling.
No, they do.
Oh,
They do? Where does it say that?
on the 180 it mentions that they're set up,
one.
Neogi traders might set up shop. Blah 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 blah. I could have sworn they mentioned slavers
It's
at one
in
point.
this tiny one on that page. They'll like sell people to mind players and stuff.
Oh, well, they have just different mind control.
No, it doesn't say anything about selling their slaves. They'll set up shop there to trade, and only those formidable enough to deal with them, such as mind flayers,
Right.
will actually approach them.
Okay. Either way,
Yeah.
I don't think that's important that they get sold.
Yeah.
What is important is that they can just have an entire army of meat puppets in front of them to charge into whatever they need to charge into.
Yeah.
Actually, I feel like there's a lot of ways you can go with this,
Yeah. definitely.
depending on what you believe the Neogi's end goal is.
Well, it sounds like they don't really have like anything except this weird non-hierarchical society, or
It's
super hierarchical.
super
society,
hierarchical. Yeah.
but everybody has no individuality, so it's actually kind of a mix. But yeah, no, any slaver is going to sell their slaves to make money, man.
It doesn't sound like it. Sounds like the
What are they
enslave them
selling,
to
man?
increase their army and
But it doesn't really make sense for them to be having like an army. They're kind of just intergalactic pirate types. They don't have an overarching goal. They don't really want to take anything over. They kind of just want to conquer and leave and just do shit.
I mean, world conquering is always a pretty terrifying thing worth fighting against.
Yeah.
I'll definitely, I can tell by the look you're giving me, it's that like the villain who wants to blow up the world. It's like, why is that your goal? Yes, I'll blow up the world and then there will be no more world. I did it. I hate the world.
I'm personally offended by this space junk.
But it's still just the idea of them trying to take over every planet they can because they want to just become huge as a society.
Yeah, just that kind of natural will to survive and grow and prosper.
Just something to talk about, and nothing campaign-wise. I really like their cycle of death and life.
Yes.
It's so interesting. Neogi lives about as long as a human, and like a human, it faces physical and mental infirmity as it ages. When an individual is rendered weak by advanced age, the other Neogi in the group overpower it and inject it with a special poison. The toxin transforms the old Neogi into a bloated, helpless mass of flesh called a Great Old Master. Young Neogi lay their eggs atop it, and when the hatchlings emerge, they devour the Great Old Master and one another until only a few of the strongest newborns are left. Damn, that's fun. So you got this Neogi starting to get old, and everyone's just like, hey, it's your 70th birthday. You know what that means, bud? And they're like, hey, I'm still doing fine, guys. Everything attacks it, poisons it, and then they just lay eggs on it, and they're like, yay, Bob lived a great life. It's great in a super fucked up way.
It is, yes.
Like most good D&D things.
Yeah.
So, yeah, their society makes no distinction between individuals aside from the ability that a given creature has to control others. That's so weird. They're really just like a hive mind, that's basically.
But they're not. They're definitely not a hive mind. Nothing in here says hive mind.
No, you're right. They just don't have a sense of individuality.
Yeah, their society is very inhuman. I think that's what they were trying to go for, but they didn't really portray it that well.
That's fair.
As far as goals are concerned, they really, I don't know. They do mention the space part. I think they were just supposed to be space slavers.
Yeah. So we talked about how they're inhuman, but maybe a human aspect of them is their entire race does not have a goal. Like the entire human race does not have a goal. You have different groups in here with their own goals.
Yeah, that's fair.
And so if you want to turn this into this really high-level, long-lasting campaign, you have a group of the Neogi where their goal is to conquer, this planet, or just conquer every planet they can. And they come to your planet.
Or another group that's maybe they're fighting. That'd be hilarious. Neogi Civil Wars, where one group has an idea of where they want to take their species, and the other group has a different idea. I mean, there's no reason, as you said, they're not a hive mind where they're like locked into thoughts, but they can easily be split and have a polarizing opinion, and you have to then figure out this war of just things getting taken over and thrown at a wall, basically.
Yeah.
That's fun.
Yeah.
There's a lot you can do with this.
Yeah. And then even if, so if you want to bring them into a lower level thing where you don't get 40 of them fighting a party level 20s, which gets really dangerous. Honestly, even just a few of them, like if 3 of them crash landed here or something, and you just need to go clear them out, that could still be a cool set piece encounter where they have managed to enslave this array of interesting monsters. It's kind of going to, whenever we're talking about these monsters, and especially big ones like the Neothalid, which is on the very next page, like we had a whole talk about, all right, we don't want to just have one of these because just one big creature always ends up being boring combat. We need things with it. And so it's always, well, what logically makes sense? With the Neogi, you could throw it out the window. It doesn't have to logically make sense.
Right.
Just pick whatever cool combination of monsters you think would be fun to fight and throw them together, and because they're all enslaved by the Neogi.
Mm-hmm.
It makes sense.
No, I really like that. One thing it mentions is that their initial thing that they took over were the Umber Hulks.
Yeah.
Which is kind of interesting. They're just like other giant insects.
They're big scary beetle monsters.
Yeah, big scary beetle monsters. I'm just kind of wondering like how these things travel. It doesn't say, like you said, crash landed. I'm wondering what that actually would.
They go into the ships. not
It doesn't.
well.
Yeah, they try and keep it so. Yeah, never mind. Then with the slaves providing the physical labor, the Neogi designed and built sleek vessels, some capable of traversing the plains to carry them to their new frontiers.
Yeah.
They do such a weird job of explaining aliens in D&D because they don't want to be like overly, hey, there's
Sci-fi,
yeah, like it's not sci-fi and they're trying to keep it that way. But saying sleek vessels just makes me immediately think spaceships.
Yeah.
It's spaceships.
Yeah, they kind of dance around this issue, but the reality is they are space pirates.
Yeah.
And they're going to come and enslave you.
So that's cool. And you can really just throw them in at any time.
Yeah, and this is the kind of enemy that's like, oh, we're at the scouting party. We can fight them. There's going to be maybe a cave full of interesting shit.
Yeah.
And nobody's going to come and like try and avenge these dudes. There's not that kind of society.
No,
so it's
right.
like, oh, this can be a one-off. You really don't have to make this a campaign.
Oh
'cause
my
there's
God.
3 different ones.
No.
One of them's just a warlock.
But what about the Neogi apologists?
Neogi apologists?
Yeah.
We have to welcome the Neogi?
Yeah, the people who are like, no, the Neogi are just like that. They're just doing what they want to do. They're animals, and we need to facilitate what they
They're
want to do.
quite wise people.
Yeah, they're definitely not
very
animals.
Not you're looking at literally the
The
hatchling.
hatchling.
No, I'm talking about people.
People?
People saying this about
I
the
know.
Neogi who are trying to enslave everyone.
But I mean, the Neogi literally have a language. They build spaceships.
They're
and
normal.
Fly through space. Like they're not.
It's like it's just their culture.
yeah, no, you're saying that in general, our culture is going to be like, oh, we need to kill all the Neogi. But I'm saying there's going to be people who are like,
We have to welcome the Neogi.
yeah, we have to welcome them and integrate with them. And sure, they might take us over, but maybe we need to talk to them and figure out a way to say, okay, you can have some of our people, but like, don't take too many. Like we'll figure something out. We can work it out.
I think every campaign really could benefit from just people who really do not have a sense of self-preservation in their heart.
Right. I actually agree. I don't know if you're saying that to be a dick or not. I can't tell.
Yeah.
But
well, it's that very modern mentality of accepting all cultures and everything, and all great and all that. But yeah, bring it into a D&D world. That gets a really dangerous mentality.
right, when it's like really obvious. That's the thing. Like D&D is a very like a lot of stuff is very black and white. To be
Yeah,
honest, like
yeah.
the Neogi are not good. Nobody should in their
They're
right mind.
lawful
say-
evil.
They're lawful evil.
We
And
have a
it's-
scale to determine if things are okay or not.
Right. And so it's like very obvious when things are just like, no, we should kill them all. But, if you just kind of throw that out the window sometimes, it can be
Yeah.
very fun because there's still going to be those people who are like, but maybe we should talk this out. It's like, no, they just enslaved your mother. And it's like, well.
We should have a debate. They literally can dominate your mind like remotely. Or you shouldn't be talking to them at all.
That's good. Any other
What-
thoughts? Oh,
Yes, what we talked about last time with the Neothelid, and well, actually not specifically the Neothelid, about Volo's Guide to Monsters.
Oh, right.
How it seems to be a book built around lesser versions of stuff that already exist in the other books.
Yep.
The Neogi kind of feel like lesser versions of the Illithid.
yeah, kind of.
They kind of have that same vibe. It's just they're not hive minds and they're aliens.
Right.
But the Illithid are kind of aliens too. They have mysterious origins.
They're
And
like
it's based-
eldritch horrors over aliens, which is such a dumb distinction in the D&D world, but they are different. They're more just like ancient beings that are inexplainable.
My take on them was always they're aliens. That's how I always read it.
That's an interesting reduction of H.P. Lovecraft. It's like, what are these inscrutable, unfathomable creatures? They're just aliens, man.
No, except for the Illithid are not that. They're not eldritch horrors. They're reminiscent of it. Like
Yeah,
the imagery.
They were very inspired. by
Yes,
it.
but
Yeah.
they're not. Your mind does not shatter from looking upon them, unable to comprehend what it is. It's like,
No, maybe the elder brain. Maybe, not actually. No, there's a
It's
stat
in here.
block.
Yeah,
in
I don't
here,
think so.
I mean, is this something worth having a conversation about? Should we?
No,
just
I mean the
talk
point though
about-
is it's absolutely right.
What?
This book does have a lot of stuff that just kind of feels like they were phoning it in. These guys, this is actually one of the more interesting ones in this book, and it's just like, I don't know, it'll surprise your players. They were like,
Yeah.
oh, it's like fighting bugbears and goblins, only they have mind control and Eldritch Blast.
I mean, is that kind of a useful niche though of like playing with experienced players? And if you throw mind flayers at them, they're always going to be like, it's mind flayers. We know exactly what to do. This isn't very scary, but this actually allows you some more alien ways to go about it, where it's like, oh man, we don't know how to deal with this. This
Right.
is new. And it's only really a problem if you have metagamers, but you can't, you want to add that shock value every once in a while.
right. even if you have metagamers, it's weird to pretend like you don't have knowledge that you do. The example I always go to is the troll, where they regenerate unless they take fire damage. And it's mostly, if you play D&D even just a little bit, you're probably going to know that.
Right.
So your character faces the troll for the first time. How do you handle that? Do you pretend like you don't know? Like, but when if you're generally would cast Firebolt anyways, are you going to be called out for metagaming?
I do a couple of checks on that usually. I'll say like history check to see if you know of like lore regarding trolls, even if you're level 1. Like you've heard stories in your life, as well as just like straight intelligence. I think there's a couple to go with. That's usually my workaround is like do a check on it, and usually one person's going to get it, and they're going to say, "Hey, use fire," and then cool, we can move on from there.
So at that point, why even do the check? When if everyone fails? Again, how do you play that?
Then
anyone who casts fire spells just immediately dies.
No, I figured
it's just stupid. It's like
It's
because
not-
fire is
it's
so
just-
common.
no, I don't think that's dumb. I think at some point like somebody's going to try a fire spell. And like, they won't know, and then it dies and it comes back to life. It's like, oh God, what do we do? And it's just
Right. But if the player knows that and you're trying to say the character doesn't,
right.
how do you handle it? So you're saying so at some point, like if it's almost like a disadvantage for knowing it, because now you have to actively avoid this category of spells lest you be called a metagamer.
I don't
Where
think so.
if you as a player didn't know it, you might get lucky and just like, well, yeah, of course I'm just going to cast fireballs, and boom, there you go, it's solved.
I think it's like a tricky situation where if somebody has like literally never cast a fire spell and then they see a troll, they fail a check, and then they're like, I only cast fire spells for the rest of this combat. It's like, it's not worth stopping the game over, but it is something that you're just going to be like, hey, by the way, it was kind of metagaming. Like you weren't supposed to know. You could have like, if you used one later on, like maybe I'd understand, but you never use fire spells and you just completely switch to only casting Firebolt when usually you cast Ray of Frost.
Yeah.
Like this is a little bit ridiculous. So it's just a case-by-case basis, but I still think that putting in some level of a role to it just to get things moving, it's usually going to turn out that the players will know something about it, make it a really low DC, and you say, what's the point of it? Because it's fun, because people like rolling stuff. That's really all it comes down to.
Yeah.
It's more fun than just saying, you guys know what that is, right? And then just moving on.
Right. Okay, that's fair.
All right. Anything else?
Nope.
Will, you want to just talk about your day?
Not really. Stayed up all night. Kind of sleepy. But I had a sip. I'm feeling sipped. Got that sip energy, man.
All right.
I think that's an episode.
I think so. Boop. Next week on
Monsters and Multiclass.
Next week, we're going to take a look at the Bard Sorcerer and the Nagpa from Mordekainen's Tome of Foes. Tome of Foes!
Yeah, there we go. Tome of